Welcome back to the deep dive, where we really take these strategic blueprints for business and strip them down to their essential components. You might have already set up your Google Ads account, maybe installed conversion tracking, but frankly, those are just, let's say, the passive protective walls. Today, our mission is to move beyond that, mere administrative setup. We need to start building the mechanism that actually finds your customers and convinces them to convert. We are building the engine of your campaign.
That's absolutely right. A crucial leap, really, from just setup to actual strategy. And look, to make these steps real and tangible for you, we're going to use that running example from the source material. It's about launching a campaign for a new immigration consultant based in Toronto. But what's fascinating here, and this is key, is that the principles keyword control, defense, hyper-relevant ad copy, they're foundational. So whether you're running the service in Brampton or Mumbai or Delhi, the core engine, it stays the same.
Okay, so let's look under the hood then. This deep dive is going to unpack the foundational rules of search marketing. We'll start with the non-negotiable match type strategy you absolutely must begin with. Then look at how to build like a permanent shield against those wasted clicks. And then finally, move to the architecture. Structuring your ad groups, your ad copy for maximum relevance. Let's unpack this, starting with control.
Okay, control. Your starting line, before you allocate even a single dollar, it's always Google's own free tool. Inside your Google Ads account, you go to Tools and Settings, and you'll find the Keyword Planner. This is essentially your map. It's where you gather keyword ideas and crucially see those estimated search volumes, competitive metrics, that sort of thing.
All right, the planner's the map. But we need rules for navigation, right? Rules that protect our budget. And that brings us straight to match types. I remember the mandate from the source was, well, extremely strict on how we start.
Oh, it is. It's a foundational requirement for any new account. Seriously. If you take just one rule away from this deep dive today, make it this. You will never start a new campaign primarily with broad match.
No,
just don't.
Never, okay?
Broad match is just too much of a financial risk until you have months of really robust, clean data.
Okay, I need to push you on that a bit. Why? Why is broad match so dangerous early on? Give us the illustrative story.
Because it works on intent, or what Google thinks is intent, often incorrectly, without really respecting the structure of the user's query. It essentially tells Google, hey, show my ad to anyone who kind of seems interested in this general topic, which sounds okay, but we saw one campaign right out of the gate, they ignored this rule. Selling high-end immigration services, they lost something like 70% of their initial budget on searches for things like free immigration software download or how to find immigration jobs in Toronto.
Yeah.
Broad match just connects the general word immigration with jobs and free, two things the client absolutely did not want. It's a budget killer, plain and simple.
Right, a total budget killer. So skipping that fire hazard, what is the preferred starting strategy? The one that balances learning with, control.
The power move. For every smart campaign starting out, it's primarily phrase match. You recognize phrase match because it needs those quotation marks. For example, immigration consultant Toronto. What's critical here is that phrase match gives you, well, the perfect blend of data collection and essential budget control.
And how does that mechanism work? Like for someone maybe less technical, how does just putting quotes around a phrase lock in that control?
Okay, so phrase match preserves the core meaning and often the word order of your target phrase, but it allows for words before or after that phrase. So if your keyword is immigration consultant Toronto, your ad might show for Best Immigration Consultant Toronto Reviews, right? Makes sense. Or maybe Toronto Immigration Consultant Salary Estimate. Oh, wait, scratch that second one. We'll definitely block that later with negatives. But importantly, phrase match lets Google show your ad for highly relevant structured searches. So you gather real user intent data without just burning your budget on those wildly irrelevant queries that untamed broad match would absolutely catch.
Perfect. Okay, control established. Now let's move into the actual idea generation. Once we're safely inside that keyword planner, what's the immediate process for finding terms for our Toronto immigration consultant?
Right, so you input your starting high-intent seed keyword, something solid like immigration consultant Toronto.
Oh.
The planner then acts like a brainstorming engine, basically. It gives you this massive list of related ideas you might not have thought of. And these can be gold. Things like Canada Visa Consultant Toronto, or Express Entry Lawyer Brampton, maybe Study Permit Advice Canada, NCHIC. This expands your reach intelligently and, crucially, shows you how real people are phrasing these high-stakes queries.
Expanding reach is only half the battle, though. If we're building an engine, like you said, we have to build a protective shield around it, and that means finding negative keywords.
Precisely. This is just as important, maybe even more so initially, than finding the money-making terms. we are actively blocking the people who are not looking to buy. For our consultant example, users might search for immigration consultant jobs or free immigration advice, maybe even competitor names if we aren't careful. These are terms that immediately disqualify a user as a potential client. They're looking for a salary or a handout, or they already know who they want, not our customer.
Okay, so we compile this list of instant budget killers like jobs, salary, free, course, download, review, things like that. And then what's the best practice for actually applying that shield? Do we just do it campaign by campaign?
Absolutely not.
Mm.
No, this needs to be foundational. You compile that master list, right? And you add it to a negative keyword list in your account's shared library. This is a concept a lot of people miss. By putting it in the shared library, it acts as a permanent account-wide shield. It protects every single campaign and ad group you ever create under this account. Protects them from those basic, wasteful clicks from day one. It's truly foundational work, pays dividends immediately.
That shared library shield sounds invaluable, seriously powerful, but here's where it gets, well, really interesting for me. You mentioned the keyword planner is just the starting tool. Once the engine is running, once we have actual user traffic, where do we go for the real unvarnished truth? Where's that hidden gold mine you hinted at?
Ah, yes. This is a powerful pro tip. It separates the amateurs from the pros, really. After your campaign has run for, say, a month or two, maybe longer, depending on volume, you rely less on the planner. You rely almost entirely on the in-platform search terms report.
The search terms report. Okay.
This report shows you exactly what people typed into Google, down to the letter, to trigger your ads.
Ah, so that gives you pure, unfiltered user data, no estimates, no suggestions from Google, just reality.
Exactly. Pure reality. And it's gold mine for two critical actions. First, you find new high-performing keyword variants you didn't anticipate. You can then add those as new phrase match terms. Expand intelligently. Second, and just as important, you find new negative keywords to block, because you'll see all sorts of unexpected ways people phrase searches for free or jobs or whatever else is irrelevant. Also, if you're active, checking your Google Search Console for your organic search terms. That can complement this data beautifully too.
Okay, fantastic. So we've gathered our keywords, we've established the defensive perimeter with negatives, and we know how to optimize post-launch using the search terms report. Now we move from the tactical side of the engine, the fuel lines and filters, if you will, to the architecture, how we organize these keywords and craft the actual message. Structure is everything here, isn't it?
Oh, it is. It's the difference between an organized, efficient business operation and just a chaotic mess, frankly. We need to organize those highly relevant keywords into tightly themed ad groups. Sticking with our consultant example, you wouldn't just mix all services together. That'd be messy. You would have one ad group strictly for Express Entry Canada and then a completely separate one for Canada Study Permit. Keep them distinct.
Right. So the structure essentially forces us to be specific. We're trading, I guess, generalized volume for hyper-relevant, high-quality traffic. Is there ever a case where generalization pays off, or is that's just wishful thinking?
Almost never. Not in high-stakes conversion environments like this consultant scenario. The tight structure is vital because it allows your ad copy to be hyper-relevant. Think about it. If someone is searching specifically for a study permit, your ad needs to talk about top universities and student visas. That's what's on their mind. If your ad just talks vaguely about general immigration pathways, the relevance plummets. Your quality score drops. Your costs skyrocket. Hyper-relevance is the secret sauce. It gets you the click and the conversion.
Okay, makes sense. Now onto the ad creative itself, the actual ads people see. What's the current best practice? I remember historically we'd run maybe 3 expanded text ads, ETAs, right, to guarantee ABC testing. Why are we now told generally to just run one responsive search ad, an RSA?
Yeah, that's a great question, a common point of confusion. The current mandate is, well, simpler on the surface, but more complex internally. Inside each tightly themed ad group, you create one fully loaded responsive search ad, an RSA. Now, an RSA is basically an ad unit where Google dynamically mixes and matches the assets, your headlines, your descriptions, to find the best combination for that specific user in that specific auction. So we trust the machine, Google's AI, to do the heavy lifting on optimization within that ad unit.
If we only use one RSA, how do we make sure we're still testing different marketing angles? Aren't we just putting all our eggs in one AI basket?
Good point. If you must build that basket correctly, you must fill that single RSA with enough unique headlines and descriptions to create at least, say, 3 distinct marketing angles within that one ad unit. Google's AI then tests these different angles, these different combinations, against each other dynamically. It ensures you're always showing the best performing version for that search.
Okay, let's visualize those three mandatory angles. Using the express entry ad group example from the source, what would those core messages be? The ones the AI has to test.
Right, so for express entry, we'd target core user fears and desires simultaneously. You need a mix. Angle one could be speed, headlines like fast track your express entry or maybe get your profile submitted this week. People want things fast. Angle two would be trust. Headlines that establish undeniable authority. Things like RCIC certified consultants, and just for clarity, that's regulated Canadian immigration consultant. That specific badge is crucial for trust, or maybe five-star rated immigration firm. Build confidence. And angle three is the clear, unambiguous call to action. So headlines like, book your free consultation today, or check your eligibility now, tell them what to do next. You need all three of those psychological drivers working together within that one RSA.
That makes sense. It provides robust coverage within the single ad format. But there's a step even beyond just relevance. There's dynamic personalization. I want to make sure we mention the secret sauce of keyword insertion.
Yes, keyword insertion. It's incredibly powerful because it boosts perceived relevance dramatically. You use a specific syntax in your headline. Looks like keyword default text. Let's say keyword. Canada Visa Services. Now, if the user searches for express entry consultant, and importantly, that is the keyword in your ad group, Google dynamically swaps that phrase into the headline. So the user sees express entry consultant right there in the ad headline.
Wow. So it makes the user feel like the ad was written just for them, right? That's the ultimate relevance score boost.
Absolutely. It dramatically increases that emotional connection, that relevance, and boosts your quality score too. It's a win-win. And finally, just one last operational step. To maintain that foundational control we started talking about, ensure automatically created assets is turned off and F in your campaign settings, especially when starting out. You need to gather your own data on your own carefully crafted copy before you start letting Google's automation add its own headlines and descriptions, especially with RSAs. Control first, then maybe experiment.
Okay, wow. That was the entire core engine built and tuned, really, start to finish. Quite a journey. We started with the right map, the keyword planner, and applied that crucial phrase match mandate for budget control, explicitly avoiding the financial risk of broad match early on. We built that permanent shield using negative keywords added to the shared library. Essential. We structured everything into tight, hyper-relevant ad groups, and then loaded those ad groups with high-impact, multi-angle responsive search ads, enhancing them with dynamic personalization via keyword insertion.
Exactly. The machine is fully built, it's tested conceptually, and it's protected by human strategic input. That was the goal today. We focused entirely on the strategy and the control mechanisms, getting the foundation solid. The next phase, which is covered in the source materials next segment, involves actually putting fuel in the tank. Things like setting a realistic budget, choosing the right bidding strategy to launch with, and running through that final pre-flight checklist before the engine really roars to life.
Right. So we've established this critical initial strategy of deep, human-driven control phrase match, negatives, tight structure, manually turning off auto assets. We've fought hard for that control. Now that you've mastered the structure, maybe consider this. How much does maintaining this deep human-driven control actually matter when you introduce bidding and budgeting? Things that rely inherently on automated systems like, maximize conversions or target CPA. Is strategic control still truly possible once the money starts flowing and you start optimizing with automation? Or is the future of advertising really a kind of strategic surrender to the machine, something to think about as you prep your own campaigns?
Definitely something to chew on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into building the perfect campaign engine.
We'll see you for the next one.